Okay, students, welcome to the second part of fasting. So we found out that fasting, Isaiah 58:8, tells us that our health will spring forth speedily. And autophagy is one of those things, gives us time to clean up our bodies. But a second thing we want to talk about is ketones, ketosis. We hear about that a lot, being on a keto diet. And we'll talk a little bit about why that it is. But, you know, what are ketones? We hear about it all the time. I have friends. No, I'm on a keto diet. Okay, there's good reasons for that. But what are ketones then? Ketones then are these small molecules that are used by the body for so many purposes. And there's three of them. There's acetone, acetoacetate, and there's beta hydroxybutyrate. And they're mainly used for energy. They do some other things, but they're great for energy. We think, what does our body run on? Runs on sugar, runs on glucose. Keeps our body going. But these little ketones are made from fats. Now, generally, when you're breaking down fats slowly throughout the day, you're eating a normal diet, you don't make any ketones. I mean, your diet can be 30%, 40% fat. You still don't make ketones because, well, I'll explain it in a minute, but you have enough carbohydrate balancing with the protein, balancing with the fat, that your body doesn't make any of these. It breaks the fat down slowly, and you use it properly, and it doesn't produce ketones. So then, next question is, why does fasting cause your body to turn fat into ketones? I always wondered why. And this is a little diagram on keto therapeutics for Alzheimer's disease. It was done in 2019. Now, this is my favorite diagram. And we're going to spend the whole time on this. We're just going to talk our way through it and see everything that's here. Because when we talk about fasting, autophagy is important and ketosis is important. So here we go. To get you the playing field here, what we have is we have a liver here. This is a liver cell. This big square right here is a liver cell. And within that is this round thing. Now, the round thing is a mitochondria. It's the thing that makes energy. And it's actually made on this inner wall right here of the mitochondria. So it's the energy producer. Right over here, we have a brain cell. Again, this big square is one brain cell. And this is the mitochondria right here where energy is made. And so what we're going to show then is during fasting, this is your circulation right here. Fatty acids go up because you're breaking down fat, no more carbohydrate. And insulin goes down. And then this we'll talk about in a minute. This is the portal vein. So everything you eat up here goes to the portal vein, and then it goes to the liver, and then it goes to the body. But first, we're going to talk about fasting, then a little bit about a keto diet, and a little bit about these other two. So fasting, your fats go up in your blood, and insulin goes down. That's the key to everything. So why is diabetes a problem? Why is there so much diabetes? Why is there so much insulin resistance, prediabetes? Because insulin is high all the time. We're always eating sugars, carbohydrates, and our insulin's up. And that does a number of things. I'm just going to show you one. I always wondered why eating fat all day didn't cause ketosis. But then fasting and just eating fat on a ketogenic diet or not eating anything, fasting, produces ketones. And here's why. This is my favorite diagram. So what happens, these fatty acids get connected to coenzyme A, fatty acyl-CoA. This is a fat with coenzyme A on it. And they have to get through this enzyme, carnitine palmitoyltransferase. This is the gatekeeper. And so when there's a bunch of insulin around, this thing just does not function. It knocks it way down. And so the only way you can get that enzyme to really function is to reduce insulin. And that happens in a ketogenic diet and in fasting. So what happens then? What happens is that there's an unregulated flood of fat into the mitochondria to produce energy. It does it so fast. And it takes that fat connected to CoA, and it breaks off two little carbons at a time and makes acetyl-CoA. As we go through talking about nutrition, that is the central energy molecule in the body. Sugars break down to acetyl-CoA, fat, protein break down to acetyl-CoA, and then that makes energy. So this is great. But what happens is it makes so much of it so fast, your body can't use it for energy. And so it has to cook two acetyls together to make acetyl-CoA. So it's got two of those sets of two carbons together. And then all of a sudden, we're still running out of CoA. We need CoA for the thing to function. And so this HMG enzyme knocks off the CoA, and what does it come up with? Acetoacetate, the first ketone. Second ketone is beta hydroxybutyrate down here, and then it also creates a third called acetone. Whenever a little baby gets sick and they stop eating and all of a sudden there's no food coming in, they go into ketosis within hours, and you'll smell on their breath, the sweet smell on their breath. Well, that's because all of a sudden they're burning fat, there's no insulin there because they're not eating carbohydrates. This thing opens up, fatty acids flood in and make all of these ketones. So that happens when you're fasting. People say, man, my breath is bad. It smells like nail polish remover sometimes because of that acetone. And so the acetone is kind of one of the less important of these three, but it's there producing that smell. So when you fast, you get this acetone smell on your breath. Now, the interesting thing about this is these things, acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate, these two ketones, your liver can't use them for energy. Isn't that interesting? Your liver makes them, but it can't use them. Well, isn't that funny? When we say, God, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, this is one of the wonders that I see about this whole design. I see design everywhere I look when I look at biochemistry. And so what happens to that then? Well, these things have to be pushed out of the liver and they go into the blood system. Acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate, where do they go? They go to the brain, this brain cell. It can also go to muscles. So a lot of times people when they're weightlifting, they'll take ketones to give themselves more muscle and more energy for muscle. But it does go into your brain. And so all of a sudden then your brain gets flooded. Glucose is going down. You don't have much glucose in your body. Your brain runs on glucose generally. And so all of a sudden it has this big glut of all of these ketones. And it goes the other way from this system where it was made to this system where it's broken down. And so we've got acetoacetate. It's 4 carbons, and then it breaks off into 2 carbons. Remember this? Acetyl-CoA goes into this TCA cycle, and that's the main part of energy metabolism. And it makes NADH and FADH, and those things are energy carriers that make ATP. This is the wonderful system that's there that happens when you fast. If you think about it, we're hunter-gatherers. We're not too different than a lion in this respect, that if you haven't eaten for a day or 2 days, you need to be pretty sharp to chase down that antelope, knock it over the head and eat it. No, same thing with a lion. They haven't eaten for a day or 2 days. If our brains got sluggish when we didn't have calories coming in and we need to go find calories, that would be a very bad thing. But what happens is our brain picks up. So you can make comments about this, you people that are out there, any of you that have been fasting, that do you notice that when you fast, not the first time sometimes, because you feel horrible, like, oh my goodness, I haven't eaten for 4 hours. But when you get used to it, you get this rush of energy, and it's kind of like a high that you get from fasting. After I fast for a couple of days, then after that, I just feel great. There's the first day I can feel bad. The second day I can feel, what happened to my energy? But the more your body is used to doing this, it'll kick right in. So that's how ketones work. Now you can also take ketones in. Here's medium chain triglycerides. You eat them, they go into the portal vein, they go right into the liver, but wait a minute, they pass this enzyme. These medium chains are 6, 8, and 10 carbons long, they're short. The normal fats are 12, 14, 16, 18 carbons long. They have to go through this enzyme. But these short ones don't. So you eat MCT oil and it goes right in and starts burning this, and you start making ketones. The liver can't use them, it sends them to your brain. So even if you're eating a lot of sugar and a regular meal and you're fully fed, and even if insulin is high, you don't need this enzyme. So they go right in. And so you can actually eat MCT oil. You can buy MCT oil. I sometimes put a tablespoon or 2. I'll show you why sometime in the future. And that will make you make ketones. Even if you're fully fed, you can make ketones. Now, where do you get MCT oil? MCT oil comes mainly from coconut. And so coconuts contain somewhere between maybe 12 and 15% MCT oil. And when you look at lauric acid, that's the 12 carbon. Some people call it MCT, some people don't. But the 12 carbon lauric is 50% of coconut oil. So you've got the 15% over here that's medium chain, the lauric acid. It's a lot of medium chain triglycerides you get in coconut oil. And then the last thing is you can actually take beta hydroxybutyrate. It's fairly expensive. You can get pills, powders, whatever. And you can take that in, and bodybuilders do it. Bodybuilders know more about this than anybody because they have been using this. They'll take MCT oil, they'll eat coconut, and they'll take this exogenous beta hydroxybutyrate to make ketones. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing how your body is made to when you don't have food coming in, it kicks in not just autophagy, but it kicks in what is called ketosis. And this ketosis then, these ketones that are not normally there. If you eat 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, then your body's not making any unless you're eating coconut oil. So there we have the second idea of why Isaiah 58:8 works and your health will return speedily is because of autophagy and because of ketosis.